One of the questions that I often get asked when in clinics and different educational situations with the Indian rhythmic system is, what can this add to my playing? What can I benefit from it? What can I do? So I want to look at just a few, of the benefits and advantages of learning this system. I mean, the question you've got to ask yourself, whether you're learning, the vocalizations or whether you're learning an instrument, one of the Indian instruments, Indian drums, is do you want to end up playing that drum or vocal percussion traditionally in a traditional manner or as a solo instrument, or do you just want to dip into it and export some of the concepts? So this is a vitally important thing to erase some of the confusion, because once you're clear about exactly how you want to move forward with it, then that kind of makes the path a lot clearer. A study of the instrument in a serious way doesn't mean that you've got to go on and become a skilled tabla player, but it does give you the advantage of learning it properly and really understanding how the whole system works, how they play music, what they're thinking when they play music, and how the whole thing is put together. Now, there are a huge repertoire of compositional concepts that have been developed over many centuries. Not just the Konnakol and the Tabla Parant and the different rhythmic stuff, but also once you get into the drums, there's so many detailed finger movements and ways of playing the drums that's really interesting, particularly if you're going to export that into the world of percussion. Now, one of the basic fundamental differences with an Indian rhythm and rhythm that you find in many other places in the world is how they approach the timeline. Now, for me, when I started out, playing rock drums, and when I would improvise, or I would be, if this is the timeline going across here, I would be in a very small part of it. Whatever was happening in and around me would be sparking what I did. Whereas the Indian idea is entirely different. They think of the timeline like this, and they have destinations. So, you're here and you want to get to here. And then you have, dozens and dozens of different possibilities and permutations to get there. And because you're getting from here to here, and it takes this long, or this much time, or this many beats, or this calculation, that's how they can maneuver in such a way around the timeline as to completely throw you off as to where even the pulse is sometimes. So there are numerous devices that are used for this. First of all is the idea of partitioning. So the idea of taking a time cycle and dividing it into different length units. Now, this is one of the key cornerstones to understanding how they can play so easily in odd time signatures, because they work in smaller units that they put together in their mind mathematically. So, for example, the simplest division you could think of would be 5 plus 3 if you're in 8. So you could have 5 5 3 3. You could have 5 5 5 5 3 3 3 3. And then if you wanted to be in a different time signature, let's say 5 plus 3 plus 3. So you've got your phraseology of 5 and 3. So 5 plus 3 plus 3 is 11. So you can have phraseology in 11, for example, very easily by using the same core material that you have for your smaller partitions. Obviously, when these become bigger and you have, like 5 quarter notes or, longer phrases that you put together, then it becomes a very, very useful, useful system indeed. So these building blocks, subdivisions, and partitioning of the timeline to build up longer phrases. Now, the next thing with that is rearrangement. So you've got these phrases. Let's say we've got 3 3 2. So a very simple and very common rhythm of partitioning. 3 3 2. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. It's a very, very simple common rhythm that you find all over the world. But it's great for just explaining what I mean by the rearrangement. Obviously, you've got 3 3 2. You could have 3 2 3. You could have 2 3 3. You could have 3-3-3-3-2-2. So this idea of the rearrangement of different phraseology. The next useful device is modulation, rhythmic modulation. We're going to be looking at that when we get to the reciting the first syllables. But the idea of having phrases that you rhythmically modulate through the timeline. As we did with the qaida in the earlier example of taking that big long composition, having it single speed, 1.5 times the speed, and then double the speed, exactly the same phraseology. So again, this is another very useful device for building up concepts, musical concepts of how to make a time flow, how to make a believable and musical narrative with the music that you make. And again, also we discussed in that the idea of theme development, the idea of having a simple theme and making variations on it. So if we were to think of that in terms of the drum set, you'd have, let's say you have something that's with the small tom, the snare drum and the hi-hat, and you've used a paradiddle sticking. Now that's your theme. Now then all of the variations can only use those sounds and have to kind of be based on the paradiddle sticking. So you couldn't start suddenly doing double bass drum stuff or cymbal rolls. So what it does is it limits you to be really creative within a small area, within a small set of sounds or a small set of phrases to develop musical ideas. And even if that's just a section of building up a solo or your rhythm work, then it's a really useful and amazing device. Of course, the partitioning is going back to the odd time signatures. If we have a longer partitioning, 9-9-9-5, that's 32. You're in 4/4. But of course, 9 plus 5 is 14. So you could have 9-9-5-5, and you're in 7 or 14. So this idea of of partitioning is incredibly useful in terms of working across lots of different odd time signatures.